Hey guys, Corinne again. How are you? Sorry, it's been a little over a week, like I promised, but momming needed to take my focus lately. Um, I love being a mom, but sometimes it's super challenging, and I needed to really focus my attention on my kiddos for the last few weeks. It had me really thinking about momming and being a parent and motherhood and all of that kind of stuff. You know, I see all these memes and quotes all the time about, exhausted moms of toddlers and infants and how you're sleep deprived and you don't need a hot meal and all of those things. And while they're all super true, um, you don't see too much about momming tweens and teens, and it gets really hard and the things get bigger. I mean, yes, when you're an infant and toddler mom, and this is not to belittle the moms of those little guys because I've been there and I feel your pain, I get it. I remember the days of spit up in your hair and lugging 87 pounds of gear wherever you had to go and having to sit through god awful shows like Caillou. When is somebody just gonna that thing? Um, but I really miss the days of when I knew there was a solid 5 or 6 things that I could do to fix whatever was wrong with my kiddos at that time. I could hug them, I could read them a story, I could sing them a song, I could change a diaper, I could feed them, I could play a game, and usually all that worked. Or at least one of those things, putting them to sleep, something. Um, but now that I'm a mom of tweens, it's a lot harder. I'm dealing with things like sexuality and dating and suicide and bullying and complicated friendships and social media and what apps are my kids on and what are they seeing that they shouldn't be, and am I doing a good enough job keeping track of all of that, and am I making sure that they know that they can talk to me about anything no matter what, and I'm not going to judge them. And am I really not going to judge them? Am I able to do that? And it just, the list is forever long. It's miles and upon miles, and sometimes it's super overwhelming. And um, you have to have hard conversations that you didn't think you were going to have, and your kids are going to ask you questions that are just going to like come out of left field, and you're not going to know how to answer them at that very moment. And that got me thinking about my mom and how she's not here anymore. She passed away almost 20 years, actually 20 years ago. And there are times I wish I could call her and ask her advice about these things and just say, hey mom, what did you do when I was in this situation? Because I don't remember. Or, I mean, it's a little different. I'm one of 3 sisters and I have 2 boys, so raising them is a little bit different. But some of the stuff is still the same. I mean, no, we didn't have social media and all the things that we had then, but we certainly had complicated friendships, and we certainly had bullies. And I had questions about sexuality and boys and all of that kind of stuff. But it's changed a lot, and I don't know if my mom was here, if she'd even really be able to help me at this point because it has changed so much. Um, I don't know. I'm at a loss. I talk to my mom friends, and I feel like every one of us is overwhelmed with these questions and these um, ways to help our kids, and wanting them to know that we're here for them and we'll listen, and we'll do whatever we can to help them. But at the same time, we want to give them the skills to grow and be their own people and navigate this world on their own. That's our jobs as parents. And I think that's one of our biggest issues that we're dealing with now is too many parents want to be their kid's friend instead of their parent. And so they're not giving them those tools. They're not letting them fail sometimes and figure out how to navigate that, how to navigate the feelings of failure, how to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and move on. And find something else that fills that need for you, or that passion, or whatever, or keep trying that same thing if that's where your passion is. Um, you know, we have these kids that are doing ridiculous things. I mean, some of these challenges that are out there, I won't even get started with, Tide Pods and snorting condoms now, and like just ridiculous things. Like where do people even come up with this nonsense? And this is what I have to worry that my kids are seeing. Like when my parents were parenting me at that age, I'm sure they had their concerns, but it wasn't this ridiculous um, uh, I don't even know what the right word is. It's so crazy, some of the things that our children have to see, or get to see, depending upon how you look at it, I guess. I do my best to try and keep my kids away from some of those things, but it's everywhere. It's friends, it's on TV. Like I said, it's on social media. I mean, my children thankfully aren't on social media yet because I refuse to let them be. My 12-year-old wants a phone, and it's not going to happen because I don't want him connected to everything and everyone all the time. That's part of our problem, is that we have no privacy anymore, and so we feel like we are qualified and have the right to comment on everybody else's life and everybody else's thing, and we don't. Especially, I mean, live in glass houses, people, come on. um, so I was just, thinking a lot about parenting and such, and really was focused on that and helping my kids through some things. My oldest is heading off to middle school next year, and he'll be leaving a lot of his friends behind, and so that's really sad and scary for him. And my youngest is figuring out who he is and figuring out that not everybody's kind all the time, and that not everyone is your friend, even if they say they are. So those are some hard things to deal with, and I'm sure you're dealing with those kinds of things too if you have kids in that same age group. I'd love to hear from you about it, and strategies you use and things. I mean, where it takes a village, like I said in my last video, and let's, as connected as we are, we're not that village anymore. We sit in judgment of each other rather than in helping each other, is how it feels. So for this week's Fuck You 40 is having a little nod to motherhood and having to do with motherhood. So my Fuck You 40 is that even though my children are 8 and 12 years old, if I laugh too hard or sneeze too hard, I still pee my pants. It happens. It sucks, but I wouldn't trade them for all the incontinence in the world. And my Fuck Yeah 40 is that I have now had enough life experience that I can help my kids navigate these challenges in their life, and help them realize that what happens in their life right now is these little things with friendships and such are forming the people they're going to be, and in the long run, it's going to take them where they need to go in life, and it's going to make them strong, and it's going to make them resilient, and it's going to make them really understand who they are and where they fit in the world and who they want to be, the kind of person they want to be. And I hope that their true desire isn't necessarily to be the smartest or the richest. I hope that their heart's desire is to be one of the kindest, one of the most supportive, because that's what the world needs. More of that, more kindness, more support, more understanding of each other's struggles and different walks of life. So in thinking about parenting and my issues this week, I was thinking obviously a lot about my own parents. Like I said earlier, my mom passed away 20 years ago, half my life ago, which is sometimes unfathomable to wrap my head around. And my dad lives out of state, and I unfortunately don't get to see him as much as I'd like to, and my kids don't have the kind of relationship I wish they had with them, with him rather. So it had me really just thinking about my parents a lot and had that on my mind. So I decided to choose another excerpt from Damsel in Defense, Volume 1 of the series, and it has to do with my parents. So without further ado, I'm just pulling on my sandals when the doorbell chimes. Come in, I'm just putting my shoes on, I call. My dad's smile peeks around the door as he walks in. There's my girl, he beams, hugging me tightly. You know, you really shouldn't just invite people in. I could have been a rapist or something. I hope you don't do that often, young lady, he scolds me. No, Daddy. I saw you pull up. I roll my eyes over his shoulder. It's so good to see you. It's been too long. Where are we going tonight? I ask as I lock up behind him. It's wonderful to see you too, honey. I thought we'd hit up Ted's for some buffalo. How'd that be? My dad asks, opening my door for me. That'd be great, Daddy, I say, hooking my arm through his. On our drive to the restaurant, he fills me in on the new pieces he's begun working on in his carpentry shop. Although he retired a few years ago, he does still sell some of his furniture, and has been commissioned to create an outdoor seating area for a very affluent family in Vale. The father is an old friend, and Dad has been making pieces for him for years. He directs me to the cylinder on the back seat where I retrieve his sketches. They are beautiful, and I find myself wishing I had a yard of my own. My mind drifts to a vision of me snuggling with my own little ball of giggles in a yard, while my dad's talk of oak and maple fade into the background. "We're here. Doesn't look like there's a wait either," my dad says, opening my door again. We are seated within a few minutes at a booth in the far back corner. After we place our order with a very friendly cowboy named Brett, I grab a pickle and toss it into my mouth. "All right, Dad, I gotta ask. Not that I don't love having dinner with you for no reason, but it's been driving me nuts. What is it that you have for me?" A nostalgic smile crosses his face. I finally finished going through the last of the boxes in storage. I found some things I thought you might want. There was a box of stuff from your dorm at NYU and an album of photos. There was also a box that looked like it had stuff in it from high school, Billy's varsity jacket, your crown from prom court, and some journals and things. I didn't read anything, don't worry. It's all out in my trunk. I'll help you bring it inside when I drop you off. I didn't even remember my dad still had those boxes. I'm excited to walk down memory lane later tonight. "Oh, Daddy, thank you so much. I can't wait to go through them. I wonder if there are any good pictures of May and I in there. I have an idea for our birthday this year. That reminds me, could I come up to your place at some point and go through the old albums and make some copies?" "Of course, Tish, any time," he replies as our plates arrive. Everything smells delicious and I can't wait to dig in. I fill Dad in on the details of our Vegas shoot and he looks worried. "I don't think I like the idea of you going to Vegas alone. Who will look after you?" the dad tone in his voice growing. "Daddy, I'll be fine. I travel to all sorts of places, you know that. Eddie will be with me, and I've been taking a self-defense class with May at Devon's Taekwondo school. I'm actually pretty good at it." His eyes soften. "I know. May was telling me. I'm just worrying about you girls is all. How's Eddie doing, by the way?" "Good. You'll see him at May's barbecue next week. He may even bring his new lady friend." My dad looks slightly disappointed. "Oh, I guess I just thought that you and he might end up together, since you spend so much time together and I know how fond you are of him and Penelope." I know he's fishing for information about my love life, and I wonder for a moment if May put him up to it. "Eddie and I are just great friends, Daddy. You're right, I love him and Nell, but not like that. Sorry to burst your bubble, but there's no man in my life I can tell you about," I say completely honestly. "Patricia, I don't want to see you sink all of your time into your career and realize too late that you are alone. You have so much to offer, but you've always been somewhat closed off to the possibility of love. You haven't really been with anyone since that drummer. I know he turned out to be a jerk, but don't give up. You'll find what you're looking for. You just need to keep your eyes open." He grabs my hand and I can see the love in his eyes. He sounds so much like my mom in this moment, and it makes me wish she were here, sitting across the table. I know just what she'd say. "Anthony, leave your daughter alone. Patricia is destined for a great love, and it will come when it is meant to. As for the drummer, he wasn't worthy of our little girl, and she was right to break it off." Mom always knew what to say to get Dad to back off. "I know you mean well, Daddy, but Ricky cheated on me, so I moved on. I'm not giving up, I promise. I just don't want to settle. I guess you set the bar pretty high for any man to live up to. They say a girl should marry a man like her daddy, but you're one of a kind. My career is very important to me, but it's not all-consuming. Believe me, Dad, I'm open to the possibilities." I try to reassure him. But in all honesty, the only man I'm interested in right now is Logan. Obviously, I can't share that with my dad. Not only would the age difference make him uncomfortable, but I think it would upset him if he thought I was investing my time and energy in a relationship with no real future. Besides, I'm waiting for Mommy to send him to me like she did for May. When she finds someone worthy, I'm sure she'll use her divine intervention to make sure we meet. Dad sets the second box on my kitchen island while I pour coffee into a large travel mug for him. "For the ride home," I say, handing it to him. "Thanks, kiddo," he says, taking it from me. "No, Dad, thank you. For dinner, the boxes, the conversation. It was really great catching up with you. I'm glad not to have to wait too long to see you again." He pulls me into his arms for a big bear hug. "Me too, kiddo. You remind me more of your mom every time I see you. She'd be so proud of the woman you've become." He stifles the emotion in his voice as he squeezes tighter. "I love you, Daddy," my muffled cry barely audible in his chest. I love you too, sweetheart. Now don't cry, he says, wiping the tear from my cheek. I hope you find things that make you smile in here, he motions toward the boxes. I'm sure I will. Now, get going so you can still make it home at a decent hour. I walk him out to his car and wave goodbye as he pulls out the lot. Turning with a jerk, I practically bound into my apartment, anxious to see the long-forgotten treasures that await me inside. I open the first box, and it's just what Dad said it would be. Memories of subway rides and dirty water dogs in Times Square come flooding back as I flip through photos, playbills, and ticket stubs. One photo in particular catches my eye from under some posters that used to hang on my dorm walls. I pull it out and my eyes well up. It's one my dad took. I remember this day like it was yesterday. It was our first Christmas at NYU, and Mom and Dad decided to come out to us so we could spend the holidays with extended family. This photo was taken on their last full day with us. We went skating at Rockefeller Center, and I was awful. I laugh to myself as I look at the three of us laughing back at me. I just couldn't stay upright, and Mom thought if she and May each took an arm, they could get me going. I lost my footing for what felt like the 287th time and ended up taking them both down with me. I hugged the picture to my chest, so thankful for the memory. I can see the rest of the items in this box are of little consequence, mostly old class notes and books, and decide to set it aside. Opening the other box, the glint of my old prom court crown flashes. I lift it from where it is laying on top of Billy's jacket. I put the crown on and slide my arms inside the bright leather sleeves. It almost feels like coming home again. I wonder for a moment what Billy might be up to now. Left in the box are a collection of more photos and a stack of about 6 or 7 colored notebooks. Flipping through the photos brings more laughter looking at our hair and clothing, remembering school dances, vacations, just hanging out with friends. There are some great shots that I set aside to use for May's birthday present. I take out the first of the notebooks, noticing the bright orange cover that is doodled all over. Man, I forgot all about these. In high school, May and I were usually referred to as Frick and Frack, or simply the twins, by most of our friends. She was always much more outgoing than me, and I often felt like I was somewhat invisible. I started keeping journals, and it helped me to separate my identity a little. Don't get me wrong, I loved being a twin. I was not jealous of May at all. I just needed something that was only mine, something private, just for me. The spine crackles when I open the cover, and that familiar hay-like smell brings me comfort, reminding me of my mom's library in the den. I roll my eyes, reading through the hardships of my teenage life. This boy didn't like me back. This girl started a rumor. This friend became a backstabber. It's funny to me how important these things seemed at the time, yet now I can barely remember who some of these people are. After putting on some of my favorite 90s grunge music, I go back to the journals. The second in the stack has pink and red hearts all over the outside, and the doodles on the cover all read, Billy loves Trisha and Trisha Woodward. As I begin to read my recount of the first time I met Billy, I feel a familiar twinge. It's the same twinge I felt the first time I saw Logan. I was sitting on the bleachers at a baseball game. Billy and I had lots of friends in common, and he was sitting in front of me. I've never been a sports fan and was there only because May had just started dating one of the players. I was busy chatting with friends and never saw the pop fly that came hurtling into the stands. Billy stood to catch it and fell backward into my lap. I started to yell what I'm sure was very creative profanity. When our eyes met, I was instantly taken with him, and the rest, shall we say, is history. Over the next hour and a half, I relived my high school years. I run the gamut of emotions as I'm brought back to some of the best, worst, most embarrassing, and funniest moments of my life. When I finally removed the last notebook from the box, I recognized the cover right away. Just off the popularity of Clueless, everything was plaid, and I remember buying this plum chocolate and white plaid journal from the kiosk at the mall where my friend Holly used to work. The photo of May and I tucked into the front cover makes me giggle. My mom used to make us take a first day of school photo every year. In this one, May is wearing a pink and black plaid miniskirt with knee-high socks and a button-down blouse, her mini backpack slung loosely over her shoulders. She's standing center stage, of course. I'm slightly behind May in my shiny mini floral slip dress, thigh-high socks, and Doc Martin Mary Janes with my Rachel haircut, brown lip liner, and floral choker. This journal, in particular, is more difficult to read as I get further in. Talk of Mom's illness and treatments proves too much, and I set the book down on the cushion next to me. Blowing my nose for the 4th time in 15 minutes, I stand to refill my tea, knocking the journal to the floor. When I bend to pick it up, I notice a small corner of a colored envelope sticking out the inside of the back cover. I flip to it and see it's a greeting card, but don't really recognize it. I open the envelope and can't hold back the tears as I try to read the printed words through them. From mother to daughter, a few words from the heart. In your happiest and most exciting moments, my heart will celebrate and smile beside you. In your lowest lows, my love will be there to keep you warm and to give you strength. And to remind you that your sunshine is sure to come again. In your moments of accomplishment, I will be filled so full of pride that I may have a hard time keeping the feelings inside me. I open the cover and the sniffles start to grow. In your moments of disappointment, I will be a shoulder to cry on, a hand to hold, and a love that will gently enfold you until everything is okay. In your gray days, I will help you search one by one for the colors of the rainbow. In your bright and shining hours, I will be smiling too, right along beside you. In your life, I wish I could give you a very special gift. It would be this. When you look in the mirror in the days ahead, may you smile 100 times more than frowning at what you see. Smile because you know that a loving, capable, sensible, strong, precious person is reflected there. And when you look at me, may you remember how very much I love you and how much I'll always care. Laurel Atherton. I open the trifold to reveal her handwriting. My breath catches in my throat. I haven't seen her mark in so long, yet I remember it perfectly. Every curve, every nuance, every flourish. It's beautiful, and I'm sobbing before I even read a word. My dearest Patricia, today you're 17 and at the threshold of all that adulthood offers. Use your gifts: a loving heart, a joyous spirit, a creative imagination, a deep sense of friendship, and the joy of laughter. This is a rich palette from which to paint your future, a rainbow for you and those you touch. With all my love, peace, health, happiness, Mom. I sit there weeping for minutes, hours, I'm not really sure. What a waste that the world never got to know this woman that I weep for. God, I miss you. I have so much I need to ask you, to tell you, to share with you. Why, I shout, why aren't you here? And for those of you that have wondered how much of Damsel is real and how much is from my imagination, I know I touched a little on that last time, but for those of you that are wondering, this is the real card that my mom wrote for me on my 17th birthday, and her message inside. And I wanted to include that in my book somehow. And honestly, that was the first scene that I wrote, was that scene of finding that card and wondering out loud why she wasn't here. And I feel that way a lot, actually. So on that somber note, I will just say this, that you're a great mom. You're a great parent. Keep trying. Keep pushing forward. You're awesome, and you're doing a great job. Just love your kids. Just be there for them. That's all they need. They don't need the expensive things. They don't need the latest gizmos and gadgets. They don't need the most expensive clothes. They don't need the name brand shoes. They don't need all of that crap. They need parents who love them, parents who cherish them, parents who understand how important it is to teach values and morals and kindness. And they need parents who support them and will be there for them and listen to them without judgment. Be that, and the world will be a better place, I promise you. Thanks for listening. Love you guys.